I'm Darrell Bauman Jr. from White House, Ohio. This is my dad.
I am Darrell K. Bauman Sr. from Swanton and formerly from White House, Ohio.
This is my dad's 1966 M718 Frontline Ambulance. It was based off the M718 general purpose Jeep that they used during Vietnam predominantly. They built them from about 1960 to about 1984 or 86, right in there. When my best friend found it, it was sitting in a junkyard and had been hit in the right rear corner, and the body was buckled across the door openings, and then it had been shoved into something in the front, and the hood and the grill were smashed, and at that point then they parted it out. And it had 3 springs and 3 shocks, not on all the same corners. It had brakes and steering, no wiring, no drivetrain at all, and then it was an early demilitarization. They took a torch and cut the right front fender off of it. Dad worked the deal with the guy and got it out of the junkyard, and then we put it in storage for a number of years, and then decided to restore it. And figured out at that point that it was an ambulance because we didn't have all the body extension or the top bows or the canvas or anything like that. Started scrounging up parts and decided to rebuild it as an ambulance. Met a lot of interesting people along the way that had information and parts, and we bought a front half drivetrain, front half of the body from a guy in Pennsylvania, and the guy had 27 front halves, and they were all in the middle of a buffalo field. So we had to choose the one we wanted and then drag it out of the buffalo field. And so it was just a lot of fun things, kind of a treasure hunt, finding parts and finding correct pieces and making sure it would run and drive.
What engine's in this?
It's a Continental, isn't it?
Continental.
Yeah, 4-cylinder Continental overhead valve. I think it's, what is it? 40 horsepower, something like that. Not many. It has independent suspension all the way around. It has a 4-speed transmission, and first gear is creeper gear. It just has an in and out gearbox for 4-wheel drive. Does not have low range in the transfer case. Transfer case is actually part of the transmission. So if you needed low range, you used creeper gear in the transmission. Drum brakes all the way around. It's good for about 36 inches of water for fording. If it had the deep water fording kit, it would be good for 48 inches. Yeah, basically the driver is the limiting factor when you're fording, if you have the fording kit. It's how long can you hold your breath, kind of a thing. One of the neat things was when we got it out of the junkyard, it still had the front bumper on it, and so we were able, and still had the original hood, so we were able to replicate where it came from and the original hood numbers and stuff, which is neat. We were able to track down the body number, and it came back to a 1966. So we were able to prove that.
Where was it stationed there?
It was stationed down by Dublin, Ohio, if I remember right. Is where it originally came from, according to the bumper numbers. So it runs along about 50 miles an hour comfortably. Another interesting thing is the differentials, being that it's independently suspended, the differentials mount to the frame, and there's no insulators or anything, so it mounts directly to the frame. So the rear differential is in the middle of that cargo floor in the back, so it's one big speaker. You hear that differential howl and whine the whole time you drive it, and it's loud. Most guys that have them take military sandbags and put a layer of sandbags on the floor back there to drown out the noise. Yeah.
Do what you gotta do, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. It did not have a heater when we got it. That was on the parts front end that we got, so we put a heater on it, and the heater is Dad reckons it to a dog's warm breath is about how much heat you get out of it. And right here is the starter. Starter's up on top. Yeah, so once you pull that cover off, the starter is right there. Yeah, really a unique design.
Yeah. Would you say it's easy to service, or You know, maybe.
It's not bad to work on. Everything's pretty out in the open. You know, it's not compact like today's vehicles are. You know, there's quite a bit of room. Like I said, you know, starter's up on top, that's kind of an oddity, but there's all kinds of room. The other thing is on the back of the transmission, right in here, is where the parking brake is at. It has a band-style parking brake, so you can change that from the top, you know, without being underneath the vehicle at all. Same way with the starter.
Who's this guy in here?
That is a officer that is on an IV. We had him on that glass bottle there from the MASH 4077, and it contains pure vodka when it's in use, which would be correct for the MASH unit.
Awesome. Pure vodka. But it's
Yeah. The good stuff.
Okay, I can hear it now. A lot of you have probably already commented. You went down and you're like, this is not a Jeep. This is Gone Jeepin', all Jeep, all the time channel. This is not a Jeep. We know. We know it's not a Jeep, but it's cool. It's really cool. They did a great job putting it together. I mean, come on. It was a pile of parts, and now it's a fully restored military ambulance. How cool is that? So, hopefully you guys had a couple drinks on me. You're welcome, and enjoy, and thanks for watching. Subscribe.